Today's AskReddit post, Divorce Lawyers of Reddit. What's the most outrageous reason someone filed for divorce? Oh boy, this is gonna be a good one. Let's get started. She saw him in bike shorts and said she could never be sexually attracted to him again. I practically live on a bike path, and let me tell you that some people shouldn't wear bike shorts or anything with spandex ever. I'm one of them. It's frightening if my shorts are too tight. Good advice. After 7 years of marriage, a husband, unbeknownst to the wife, started trying to convince their nanny to have a threesome, telling her his wife would be really into it. He was a Wall Street guy and she was a physician, and the nanny had been with them since their first kid was born 4 years earlier. The nanny finally made a move on the wife, who told her it was inappropriate. But a few months later, they got drunk, and they had that threesome. It turned into a regular thing. The husband was totally happy, until the wife said she and the nanny were in love with each other, and she was leaving him for the nanny. During the custody proceedings, the husband tried to argue the nanny was an illegal immigrant, which was ridiculous. In the end, the wife got primary custody. 3 years later, the wife and nanny are still together, though they hired a new nanny. Have they not learned that hiring nannies is a bad idea for marriage? Well, it only ended up being bad for the husband. Turned out quite well for them. Yes, it only turned out bad for the husband last time, but that doesn't mean it won't turn out bad for one of them this time. Man shrugging. Maybe, but I'd still watch the next episode. Because she bought a $3,500 dog as a surprise, and when she sent him the picture he responded with this kind of impulsive bullshit is why your family is poor. Which one filed? She did. She was livid at that comment. He was very harsh. But damn, I have to agree with him. Don't waste your money, ladies and gents. Guy came in and wanted to divorce his wife because he found out that she was still married to some other guy. He then asked me if he needed to tell his other wife that he was married to this wife. This was a free legal clinic and everyone was homeless. A man wanted to divorce his wife, false and no fault type of divorce, because she was diagnosed with cancer. Oh boy, I've been working at a family law firm for 3 years and I have heard some crazy stuff. For example, 1. We handled the divorce for an older man 70s. BC, he was cheating and wanted to be with his mistress. 2 years go by. He comes back to divorce the mistress. BC, he's been cheating on her with his first wife. 2. Wife found photos of her husband dressed up as a ballerina. 3. Husband files for divorce. BC, wife does cocaine. He brings us photos of her with coke on her bare boobs. Then admits he took the photos. Then admits he's the one with the coke habit. 4. Wife filed for divorce. BC, she didn't want to relocate to a neighboring state for his promotion. 5. Couple with open marriage both end up jealous and call different law firms and file separate complaints for divorce within hours of each other. Number 3 was him trying to flex. Number 3 was my favorite. My friend's wife divorced him because he wasn't black enough. He immigrated to the US from Eritrea and I guess somehow that's not black enough. Damn. I am Eritrean and it feels personal. Hello, I am your neighboring Ethiopian. This people who think we aren't black make me laugh. What exactly are we then? Celestial beings? Edit. You're la too kind, I'm blushing. As someone that lived in Ethiopia for a few years as a kid, the average Ethiopian is kind enough to qualify as some sort of celestial being in my mind. AWW, thanks, you've made my day. Not qualified, but butting in nevertheless with a story my physician brother told me. His patients tell him everything. One of his patients got divorced because after his girlfriend and he got married, the girlfriend began bugging him about quitting the meds he was taking for depression and anxiety because she should be enough or some such thing. He eventually did. Then later she wanted a divorce because he wasn't the same guy she married. Ugh, this reminds me of my ex. I have had really intense panic attacks since I was in middle school, so I have a prescript for anti-anxiety medication. Really helps me. Keeps the attacks at bay. Enter this guy and he is super against big pharma, etc, and into natural remedies. Keeps pestering me to stop poisoning myself. Also use the I should be enough tactic. I finally agree to try taking a break from my meds just to see if I still need them, can be better without them. I get a huge panic attack one day, hyperventilation, can't breathe, throat feels like it's closing, crying erratically. Instead of comforting me and trying to help, he screams at me for being crazy and that I just need to think myself out of it and tells me I'm irrational. Literally, no empathy, no understanding of the state I am in. Long story short, we're not together anymore, thankfully. To avoid prison, guy came in saying he was going to be indicted for many things. The list would have been impressive if it wasn't also sickening. So, he wanted to marry his accomplice because he saw on TV that your spouse can't testify against you without your permission and the accomplice had cut a deal. He just needed to get this pesky marriage to his current wife dissolved. In the US he'd be wrong. Spousal privilege says that your spouse can't be compelled to testify against you but may still do so voluntarily, at least for federal law. Sure, what he heard was wrong, but his idea remained sound as long as his accomplice is complicit with his plan. OP seems to make it out that the accomplice is in on it. He said that the accomplice had cut a deal, implying that they were going to testify against him. I am so confused. Why would the accomplice consider marriage if they cut a deal to turn him in? I feel like this guy didn't think anything through with this plan. I did maybe 5 divorces. I had one client who, after I met her soon-to-be ex-husband, stated, "Do you see how retarded he is? That's why I have to divorce him. If I had known how retarded he was, I never would have married him." The guy fired his lawyer once a month and constantly tried to file obviously fabricated or altered documents when he was between counsel. Eventually, very favorably for my client, we settled since he couldn't find someone to take his case and was looking at felony charges for all the fake documents. I loved that case because it was just such a circus and my client was very reasonable. I only got into second sentence and just combusted. Not me, but my friend's a lawyer. She wanted a divorce because he stole a fry. Not ducking, joking. It was hilarious to hear about. Holy shit. 1k upvotes. My second in line only has like 25. Now my biggest post is about a salty lady in a fried relationship. In the distance. Bar dumb TSSSS. No cheesy pun this time. Couldn't think of one. But holy shit. 2k upvotes. I can't believe it. In 5 hours. From me. A fat ass 19-year-old with a weird ass story. This is awesome. This really salted my fries. Joey doesn't share food. It's not about a few fries. It's about what the fries represent. What? All food. Women want divorce because husband is not at home by 5 p.m. She didn't understand that he had a job to do. My friend's parents. Because she was tired of the husband being too short, the same height as when they started dating. She a dum-dum. He was snoring too loud. That's it. That's the main reason. Sleep deprivation is a form of torture. 2 words. Separate bedrooms. My grandparents haven't split yet. My mom has a CPAP for her snoring. But she didn't always have it. She was the type of person who's asleep before her head hits the pillow. And my dad takes a while to fall asleep. His solution? Use the gun range quality foam earplugs. When she found out, my mom laughed for a week straight. And my dad felt so bad. She couldn't stand the sight of him anymore. I was in the military at a recovery unit. Just reporting in. I heard her saying this to a chaplain while he sat there, in a wheelchair. Majority of his skin was covered in burns. 1,000-yard stare. No emotion, comma. She never really loved him. She used him to get pregnant. They have 3 kids. She kept on urging him on to buy a brand new house in one of those cookie cutter neighborhoods. Her plan was to divorce him, take all 3 kids, and take the brand new house, but him pay for it, and have him pay child support on all 3 kids. Her lawyer wasn't comfortable with this at all, considering he had all their financial information, and husband was making just enough for all 5 of them to get by, before husband was able to sign papers on a new house. A lawyer accidentally left a message on his phone instead of her phone, going over the final draft of the divorce. Add-on. So where I live, both parties have to be aware of the divorce. You can't just sneak attack on your spouse, like this woman was doing. They have to have some knowledge of it. Even if one spouse just straight up shouts, "I'm gonna divorce you," that would count. So I don't think the lawyer is in a situation where he'd be in trouble for doing what he did. I knew a guy that split amicably with his then wife. They both just decided they weren't working together. They have a daughter and they agreed on a specific amount for child support that made sense and both parties were happy. In court, the judge or lawyer told the wife, "Are you sure that's all you want him to pay? You can get him for more." The legal counsel was pushing her to duck him over harder. Blew my mind. People are disgusting. Edit. She was a G and told them what they agreed on was all she wanted. Bless up for the real ones out there. It probably depends on the state, but my impression is that amicable divorces don't end up in front of a judge. I know that mine didn't. My former wife didn't even bother to hire an attorney. The paperwork does, but that's just the judge signing off on what the parties agreed to. For what it's worth, like your friend, I had to have at least 2 conversations with my attorney explaining that I was paying him to write a contract equitably distributing the assets and establishing alimony and child support using state formulas and accepted best practices, and that I was not paying him to duck over the mother of my child. He never stopped being incredulous about the whole thing. Colorado here. Super amicable divorce. Ended up in front of a judge since there's a kid involved. Ex-husband told me not to worry about paying child support after I got cancer. He's a real G, not a good husband, but a stand-up guy and a good dad. A guy I know wanted a divorce because his wife had an affair with a junkie, unprotected sex, threatened suicide to their daughter's face and proclaimed her affair was a cry for help. Guy equals me. Hope you got that divorce and your daughter is doing okay. Abuse from your own mother is very difficult to deal with. Got it. Paid $200k to keep pension and house. Daughter is healing, but was furious at me for 5 years. Since mom was off limits, she feared a mom would kill herself. Daughter and I are doing better. She graduated from NYU in the spring and is living and working in NYC. Hard to recover from. You're the reason I want to duck and kill myself. Screamed at your face from your mother. Whoa, that's rough. He didn't file, but he said he videoed his stepdaughter in the shower for the sole purpose of forcing his wife to leave him. So, I'm not a divorce lawyer, but this happened to a good friend of mine. Her brother, Kevin, married a woman that started using Snuggle fabric softener. Kevin ended up having a crazy allergic reaction to the Snuggle, but his wife refused to stop using it because she liked it so much. Even when he washed his own clothes without it, it being used on her clothes still caused a reaction so badly he had to be hospitalized. Still yet, she refused to stop using Snuggle. So, they got a divorce over Snuggle, faced with tears of joy. What an awful person. A fabric softener over your partner's life. Like, what kind of logic deficiency are you working with there? Yeah, we were wondering if maybe it was a way to get out of the marriage. But, honestly, just leaving him would have looked less bad as refusing to give up Snuggle. However, when they were married, you could smell them a mile away. They smelled so good like clean laundry, haha. Fart issues are a real thing. I had a woman call and say she needed an annulment but couldn't find her husband, and hasn't seen him in years. I corrected her that it would be a divorce, not an annulment. She told me they never consummated the marriage so it couldn't be a divorce. I told her that hasn't been the law in a long time, and she fought me on it. I asked her how exactly she intended to prove to the judge, with evidence, that her marriage wasn't consummated, and that got her upset enough to hang up on me. I'll show him a vid of us not having sex. I remember seeing a thing where a man won the lottery, and his wife filed divorce so she could get the proceedings of the lottery as part of the divorce. The judge confirmed the divorce and either he kept all the money or she had to pay him. There is a similar one in CA where the wife won the lottery, an annuity payout, and didn't tell the husband but filed for divorce so she could keep the money. They were divorced and 2 years later the husband got a letter as his address from one of those companies that offer to pay you a lump sum in exchange for you turning over the annuity payments. He thought it was odd and looked into it. They went back to court and the judge was so pissed at what the wife did she awarded the entire amount of the lottery winnings to the husband. California law: if you hide an asset during divorce, and it is later proven that you have, you lose the asset 100%. I like this law. It feels like it's teaching PPLWTF marriages, but with a bang. The 16-year-old stepson looked at her repeatedly with disrespectful eyes. It was a while ago, but I seem to recall being 16 and looking at quite a lot of people with disrespectful eyes. I think it's a thing. I'm a teen. I duck and hate everyone NGL. Not a great way to live, I'm sure, but people genuinely annoy me doing basically anything. Not a divorce but an interracial couple from my high school had been engaged for almost a year and the man broke it off because races aren't supposed to mix. I would lay small amounts of money down that his family got to him. Or her family. It says the man broke it off. In-laws can be very persuasive. 30 minutes after the wedding, bride found him having sex with one of the bridesmaids. That story shocked me. It was my stepdad's client. Did you chime in with a haven't you people ever heard of closing a goddamn door? Nah, they never heard of poise and rationality. He squeezed the toothpaste directly into his mouth instead of on the toothbrush. This is why it doesn't hurt to live with someone before you marry them. I actually had a girlfriend in college ask me to FaceTime her while brushing my teeth because she wanted to hear what sound I made when I brushed my tongue and spat. I guess she really didn't like the sound of gagging or something because I passed the test. Some people have some weird deal breakers. I lived with a roommate and he brushed his teeth in the shower. No big deal. But from the way it sounded it was like his toothbrush was a 10-inch dildo and he was slamming it in the back of his throat with a strong gag reflex. I could hear the sounds in my bedroom down the hall. Their spouse rooted for the Eagles. That's fair though. Divorce lawyer here. And to be honest, most divorces come down to two things. 1. Fighting too much poor communication, usually about money, and 2. Cheating. Both are a symptom of falling out of love or realizing you didn't love them enough in the first place and something is the last straw. That's probably 97% of divorce cases right there. I don't think I've had too many unusual reasons for getting divorced. But family law is indeed full of drama and crazy situations. I once had to visit a client after she was involuntarily committed to a mental hospital. She thought she and her mechanic who she had delusions was her boyfriend were two halves of the reincarnated Jesus Christ. She wasn't treated bipolar too. Also had a wife whose husband literally wore tin foil on his head and handcuffed her to a cabinet. She refused to press charges against him. We weren't married, but I broke up with a girl because she couldn't spell. Even though I liked her a lot, it would have driven me nuts in the long run. Name checks out. Stupid question, and the laws may differ between countries. But does one really need to justify a reason for a divorce? Can you not just go and file the paperwork and be done with it? In Germany you can't. I don't know if you need to provide reasons, but you need to wait 1 year before being able to legally divorce someone. Cause the court wants you to use that time to reconsider. Same in Australia. You need legal documentation of separation and a year after that you can file for divorce. Then it takes like a year to process. My mum left her ex when I was just shy of 14. The divorce finalized just after I turned 16. In Germany, there doesn't have to be any specific reason. It doesn't work is the default. Also, the concept of fault has been removed back in the 1970s. It's just 1 year separation and the process can be started at any time. It proceeds after the year has passed. An unwilling party can drag things out quite a bit, but the court will eventually set deadlines and issue fines. The woman divorced this guy, who also happened to be a previous client of mine, so I knew him well. for refusing to take his opiates that were prescribed to him on a regular basis. Like, homeboy was uncomfortable taking an addictive drug, and that was a problem because chronic pain is really hard for people to live with. He could have been a huge bastard when not taking prescription strength painkillers. That's the only plausible reason I can think of with opioids. That's an excellent point that I could see being highly plausible. Thanks for helping me have another perspective on the situation. Bro, you actually watched the whole video. I'd give you a high five if I was a human. Make sure to click the like button and subscribe for more great content. See you next time.